This is Jonathan Vavages. It is very important that we get his name and his face out there. He did not receive an Amber Alert. He did not receive a turquoise alert. I did call the Gila River police this morning. I did ask them why he did not receive a turquoise alert, and they were not able to tell me. Jonathan was last seen at his middle school in Zacatone, Arizona on September 10th at 3:30 p.m. This is Jonathan's last seen chart. He is ruled by Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn right down here is where we look for Jonathan. If there is a perpetrator, we want to look at Cancer, which is the moon, and it's down here in the third house. And the moon is what we usually look at to follow the chain of events. When I'm looking at this chart, though, I'm not really seeing a traditional aspect between Saturn and the moon. So it's making me wonder if he was by himself. When we do the mapping to try to locate Jonathan, we want to pay attention to the outer diameter of this 19 degrees. We're going to start out going 0.19 out, 0.19 miles out, and we're going to go to the northeast, because with the moon being in the third house is a northeast direction. His ruler is in the second house, which tells us a northeast direction. So we're going to look in a northeast direction, 0.19 miles out to begin with. I noticed that over to the northwest, there is a structure over here. It is possible he went to that structure, but the chart is wanting to say actually northeast direction. This is a little bit northwest, but it could be a little off. He could have been in that structure. If we go out 1.9 miles, that puts us at a rural land area near the Gila River. It is possible if he was on foot that he could possibly be in this area. Now, if we go out even further, 19 miles, which I did go out 19 miles because we do find the moon here in the third house. And when you find the moon in the third house, sometimes it's telling you that he could be a long way off from where he was found. His ruler in the second house is telling us that he's some way off, but not too far. So that's why I did the closer, the 0.19 and the 1.9. And then I also did the 19 miles out. When we go 19 miles out and we follow the only planets that go in a northeast direction, which is the moon, Saturn, and Neptune, we're looking at the Rancho Apache area if we follow the moon. If we follow Saturn and the Neptune lines, we get to the we get to the Val Vista Lakes area when we follow Saturn and Neptune. These are all key areas I would look at, whether the nearest area, the 0.19, perhaps if he was picked up by somebody else, perhaps it was on those roads just northeast of there where you can see the circles. With Jonathan's significator Saturn being here at 29 degrees, that rules the foot area. So that's telling me that he most likely walked on foot. which it could also be confirmed by the moon in the third house, because the third house rules travel, transportation, neighbors, local hangouts, walking trails. So these are all areas also that you might want to look at. People that could have information about this could be siblings or neighbors, people in the family, possibly even family, friends, people in the area could have more information on Jonathan. When we look at Jonathan's significator, it is in the second house. So it is making me wonder if, for whatever reason, he did leave on foot, that it had to do with possibly money, um, some type of possessions, possibly even sometimes, and when you see it in the second house, it could be trafficking. Some of the places we might want to look for him, with it being in the second house here, is possible places that are familiar to him, like maybe he's been there before, or it could even be some place that is familiar to the perpetrator. If someone did give him a ride, this could be some place that's familiar to either him or the person that possibly gave him a ride. I am going to say that if he is found 19 miles out, more than likely he did get a ride from somebody. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at Cancer and the moon. Even though he's not making any contact with the moon, I'm going to go ahead and go out there and say if he did get a ride, this could possibly be what happened, who took him where he is. When we're looking at Cancer, we're looking at somebody who's an emotional captor, an emotional manipulator, could possibly be female. They could be passive aggressive and moody. This person could have fluid speech patterns, dark hair, a round face, some type of emotional connection. And when we're looking at, and another reason why I'm saying female too, is because not only is this the moon, we also have Venus here. There's a lot of things pointing to female. Jupiter here is, you're looking at more of a masculine sign, more male, but I'm still seeing more female than male in this chart. When we look at Jupiter here, we're looking at open spaces, farmlands, journeys, and educational settings. So even as far as to go out there and say possibly somebody he knew through the educational system, or even a spiritual system, if he went to church, it could be somebody he knew at church, for example. When we see the moon in the third house, sometimes that tells us that the person was close to home and taken by car. So that's another reason I went ahead and decided to go ahead and put in a possible perpetrator, even though he wasn't making connections to a perpetrator. He's only 12 years old. He would have to have help getting 19 miles out. That's a long way for a 12-year-old to walk. What does the timeline look like for finding Jonathan? When we look at the moon in the third house, it's in the cadent house and it's in a fixed sign of Taurus. So that's telling us it's probably going to be the longest possible. But the good thing is this is at a low degree. It's only 1 degree. So that's telling us he'll either be found in 1 to 2 years or indefinitely. 1 to 2 years is going to put us at September of 2026 or September of 2027, because we want to go 1 to 2 years out. The moon is at 1 degree, but it's 1 degree 29 minutes. So it's almost 2 degrees. So I'm definitely going with the 1 to 2 on the timing. Sometimes we see these cases resolve sooner. And if we do, what we want to look at is 1 to 2 months in. That would put us around the 10th of October or around the 10th of November. If we go in even sooner, that's 1 to 2 weeks in. And we've already passed September 17th, but the next time we could be looking at is September 24th. So when I'm mentioning these times, they could either be times that he is found or times where important information is released or obtained that help lead to him being found. The next time we would want to look at is 1 to 2 days in, and obviously he wasn't found on the 11th or the 12th, but I would imagine that there was some important information out there on the 11th and the 12th that could further narrow it down to where he is. If we follow the chain of events of the moon, we would go back, see it's 1 degree, we would go back 29 degrees. So the last contact the moon would have had is with the significator of Jonathan. The next thing that the moon has contact with, at least as far as a traditional planet, would be these planets over here in the 8th house. I did decide to go ahead and look at the outer planets because the moon was making so much contact with the outer planets. If you look at the moon being 1 degree, if we include the outer planets, this at 29 minutes, this at 6 minutes, technically the moon last had contact with Neptune, which we talked about before, could mean illusion, drugs, or alcohol. I would hope that the 12-year-old didn't have to be subject to drugs or alcohol or even illusion but here we are looking for him, so we've got to see what the chart is telling us. Neptune also tells us that it's possible he could be hard to locate. The very next thing that the moon, as far as outer planets, makes contact with is Uranus over here in the 5th house. 5th house is joy, creativity. But when we look at Uranus, Uranus is shock, unpredictable zones, unusual locations, alternative shelters. Then the very next thing the moon makes contact with is another outer planet. So you see these 3 outer planets is making this little triangle right here. This is what the moon is interacting with most of all. The next outer planet, or the last outer planet that the moon makes contact with, is Pluto. And Pluto can indicate that if he is somewhere, he could be being watched. He could be in a hidden location. There could be secrecy or power themes involved. If you have any information at all regarding Jonathan Vavages and where he may be, please contact the Gila River Police at 520-562-4511. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more MMI cases and like and follow. Thanks again.